Good morning. So I have decided that I needed to put something out there for today. It's Monday, December 19th, and so right now it's almost 11. So it's 11:20 my time, Pacific time, and at 1 o'clock today my time, uh, Hyper RPG is going to do their announcement thing, which is really exciting. And just for those who may be wondering, I'm listening to a playlist today by Fixed, and that's what we do. So I took the horror maps that I was working on, and I split them up into separate files. This is one that I'm actually going to be spending the most time on. Is the Alien cargo ship, which is based on the spaceships from Alien, and I say based on it, but it's really just inspired by that. And so I split all of these up into separate documents so that I can work on each of them individually. This is the ephemeral mindscape, and I also placed reference images for each of these, so that as I'm working on them, I can look over at the things that inspired me to make it. So with this kind of stuff, it's more about giving the feeling of something more than the actual layout, because that Vampire Theater Hall that I made is very different than the one that was my inspiration from Interview with the Vampire. And then some stuff from No Man's Sky for the Alien Planet that I'll work on, and some nighttime cemetery shots. I'm actually kind of looking forward to doing that. It's going to be a little more work than the other ones because of the small repetitive objects that have to be slightly varied from one another. And then, of course, at the very end of this is the one that I'm going to be splitting apart today so that I can actually get it totally set up for 3D. And so I'll just show these one more time and shut them down one by one. But that's what I'm going to be working on. And so I took the one Adobe Illustrator file from earlier and split it into 5 of them, one for each artboard for the maps. And just took the stuff that I had in the other file and moved it over and placed down the reference images in the background on the very bottommost layer. And I'm really looking forward to doing this one. I'm hoping that this will be fun and quick and easy, just working with colors and just having fun with it. Not taking it too seriously. Every once in a while I have to throw something in there that I don't have to take too seriously. Yeah, and then like with this one, I gave myself a spot where there's going to be like a tomb memorial building right here, and so that one, because I don't know exactly how I want it laid out, I'll probably just do like a simple basic layout for the inside of it and then build it up for working with it in 3D. I might even just do it as like this is the entry point to a lower level of something. But in any case, I'm not going to be working on any of those for the moment. I'm going to be working on the getting things prepped for 3D for this one. And so that's what I'm going to do. Also, I guess I'll do a little scan around to show you some of the reference images that I pulled from the original film Alien. Yeah, the original Alien film. Really good stuff. So as you can see, I actually pulled images from both the Alien spaceship, the Engineers Prometheus, I pulled it from the alien spaceship as well as the human-built spaceship, because I'm going to kind of merge the two ideas a little bit. As you can see over here in the top right, we have that like the hanging kind of stuff with the chains and some details for like along the doorway and the floor and things that are going to be around that top. What do I want to call this? It's a metal mesh floor, like a grate, metal grate floor. But then there's like a fence uh, partition wall along the outside of it. I don't know what to call that, but I just tried to describe it. So there you go. And then that's going to be the topmost layer. And I'll probably have duplicates of that, like from the top going down. And then I am going to do this stuff over here. So yeah. So, first things first. Lowermost level with these things. So yeah, so I'm boring when there's nobody to talk to, but that's all right. We're just gonna get some stuff done. It's just gonna be okay. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get rid of the fill on these, on the top of these, the top shape, so that you can actually see the one below it. That's irritating. There you go. Now you can see the shapes. Ah, I feel better already. Okay. So that's how those shapes are going to go down there. And okay. So that also tells us that our very bottom subfloor So I was thinking about this earlier on how I actually want to accomplish this. I'm not completely sure. Hmm. Maybe it will be easier for me to move this stuff up one square grid square. And put the actual flooring right there. Wait, how was I going to do this? So I'm trying to go backwards in my thinking because I want that dark. Well, how about this? So what I was thinking is make the so the very base floor, the base floor of the cargo hold is this divot in the ground. That's the whole purpose of that, is to have that be the bottommost spot. And then above that, where I currently have the dark square, is where the actual floor would be above that, which is a more solid lit. And then I want the black background to be in the very back. I mean, I really do want that. Or, no, yeah, I definitely want that. Well, regardless, I need those shapes. So, regardless of whether or not they are the right color, is quite irrelevant because I need the shapes. Okay. So now think about this. Maybe I should have just copied the entire. I don't actually need to copy anything. I should just do lines rather than thinking about colors, because the colors is what is distracting me from trying to figure out what's in front and what's in back. Okay. That's not it. That's not what I want. Oh, but it's so close. That's why. It's just. Okay. Alright, so, I do this first. Then I can grab these endpoints. Oh. And there we go. Hey, what's going on, Nate? Do you want to chat on Discord? We can, technically. It might cut my connection down just a little bit, but what's going on? I am working on the so I'm working on this. Well, here, hang on. So that's what I am doing. Oh, okay. So sweet. We'll see if this works. Hopefully, it doesn't kill my connection. What's going on?
Let me, alright. No, just saw you streaming.
Yeah, I'm just working on my horror-themed maps. Decided to figure I wanted to do something, work on something for today. Plus, I'm all pins and needles waiting for Hyper RPG to do their thing at 1 o'clock. So.
I know, right? Like, I'm pretty awake and aware right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to, I've just been going back and forth between my follow page to see if they were, something was happening, because I'm anxious.
Right? Yeah, it's exactly why I decided to stream something, because I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to focus if I don't do something. So.
Right.
So yeah, so I'm setting up some 3D view, like the side view. Since I've got the top-down view all set up, I've got the side view working, and yeah.
I absolutely love what I'm seeing right now. I'm getting like the XCOM vibe from that.
Nice. XCOM. Actually, I don't think I know anything about XCOM.
Oh yeah, just like aliens invaded the planet and like you you see a bunch of their ships and stuff like that, a bunch of future tech and get that. Oh, speaking of future tech, they just trailered the one of the teasers for Blade Runner.
Oh, okay. Cool. I'll have to
Yeah,
check that out.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. So, anything else going good with you aside from just waiting for today?
No, just writing some more for the world I'm building. I came up with some more stuff dealing with my main characters for the game, world.
Uh-huh. So, what is going to be the connecting theme for your world? Like if you had to do the elevator pitch for it, what would it be?
The elevator pitch for my world.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I like the way you put that. Honestly, I'm all over the place with the design of my world and kind of what I want to achieve with it. I'm just throwing a bunch of what I like in a fantasy game and a fantasy world together, and it's like the more I do, the more I find. I'm like, man, I can write some more. It's like it's a never-ending cycle of, oh, let me write some
Oh,
more
absolutely. That's one of the reasons that, especially like when they're telling you for publishing stuff, it's good to start small, with something that you can manage top to bottom and then build out.
Right.
Um,
Right.
Not always easy when you have 1,000 ideas.
Yeah, no joke. For instance, I just got done working the past 2 nights on kind of like the good sides, like secret weapon against like the like tyranny and stuff like that, and basically legend went that the first founder of their kingdom um, was basically praying for a way to stop tyranny and like kind of like never really defined it yet. This is called the spirit realm.
Okay.
Gave them what's called the oracle. So they literally like this female angelic figure, like came down through a gate in front of him, and that was the start of like the oracle of the world.
Okay. Okay.
So, that person is basically like has extreme power when it comes to like divinity and like future sight. And
Okay.
so that's how like they can stay ahead and just stay competitive with tyranny.
Okay.
So
So to recap, we're talking about an evil and a good culture, like
right.
two competing forces, two competing nations or regions.
Yes. Nations. Yeah. Let's put it nations.
Sweet. Do you have a name for your world yet?
No, that's unfortunate. But it's weird because I work on a part and I'm like, what is this going to be called? And I am. If you know me, I am not the main guy. I am not the main guy.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Pick a letter. Pick the starting letter. I'll figure one out.
Let's try to do. I like A's and P's.
Okay. Let's do. So one of my favorite names for a place is called Pellucidar. Pellucidar? Wow, I feel like I haven't said that in forever. I wasn't even sure I said it right.
Get my notepad out.
Yeah. Yeah. Pellucidar. So that was like Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of stuff was set in Pellucidar. Actually, I might be talking out of my ass. It was Burroughs, I'm pretty sure. Half the fun of watching my stream is he doesn't know what he's talking about most of the time.
I love those types of streams though. That's I look up to streamers stuff like that. That's what I want to become.
We rate our channel on how ridiculous we are.
Exactly. The only way to rate a channel.
So yeah, I'm better than you, technology. Ha 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 ha. Anyways. So yeah, so I'm setting this up for 3D modeling because I feel pretty strongly that I want to model a couple of these maps in 3D, or at the very least prep it for that transition, and then if people want to download it and do their own thing.
I like it that a lot, and the work you're doing is definitely I'd pay for it if I had the money. That's definitely how I see with that. Like that's a lot of work I'm looking at.
Yeah. It's fun.
It's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and I'll put all, like with this stuff, after I get all the files done and put together, I'll put it all up online for free so that people can download it, mess with it, do their own thing. And yeah, and what I'd like to do, so I used to be really, really strong on a site called Elftown, and they would do all sorts of like contests, art contests and stuff. It was always fun, and it was at a day and age where the internet was still not horrible, so to speak. It was one of those, safe communities of like nice people.
Gotcha.
And so they would have a lot of art contests and just make up a theme, and then everybody submit your art, and you could potentially win. And usually all that really meant was you get like a badge that you could put on your profile page. But it always inspired me to do more interactive kind of stuff with the community of fans, because I mean that's the thing is when you start making work you get fans. It's just kind of how it happens. And then at some point you want to help get them involved, you know, because a lot of times people will ask you questions about like, well, how do you make that? Where do you get your ideas from, or how do you put your ideas together? And it's like, well, shit, I'll show you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, because when I'm looking at what I'm seeing right here, I'm pretty lost. So it's awesome that I can watch you stream this and like put it together, you know,
Yeah.
and then like uh,
Yeah, Adobe Illustrator is by far one of my favorite programs to work with. Um, I love making the different shapes, and sometimes they're perfect, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you make organic stuff that you weren't actually intending on making it look organic. And then other times,
a lot of people they have made a lot of money off of accidents.
right. Happy accidents.
Yeah, you'd be surprised the type of creativity you can find in an accident.
Nice. Yeah, this is working out a lot better than it was before. Something was going funky on me, and now it's working perfectly. Yeah.
I'm very curious. What are you doing right now? You're with those red lines.
So that red line is a shape that. So these are vector shapes. That means that they're very precise geometry. And so let's do this. I can enter this shape specifically, and then each one of these shapes inside this shape is removed from the large outside rectangle. Subtracted through geometry, just saying, you know, I want to select. Oh, how can I describe this? Vector artwork is very different than pixel Photoshop kind of stuff.
Right.
So basically, those red lines, the red is just color coded for which layer I'm working on. Hang on, I'll show you what I mean. So when I'm working on the background layer, my color for that is red. So all of the objects that are on my background layer will show up with that red outline. And then if I were to select something from another layer, like the green, from the objects, or the grid, which is blue, wow, that's really weird that it's, oh, because I selected that and didn't select it. But in any case, the line is describing the shape, and each one of those points is a vector point that you alter those to alter the shapes. I guess what becomes really interesting is when you make like really curved lines, really precise curved lines like this, where you can create a curved line and use it over and over, and it's the exact same geometry. There's no difference between, you know, this side and this side, so to speak. And then, yeah, and then like when you want really precise corners. Um, yeah, it's really hard to describe what it is that's happening here aside from these are vector shapes and the with this shape in particular that I select it, anytime I select it and then everything else gets grayed out, it means that I've isolated that shape or that layer or whatever it is that I grabbed. And then when I click outside of that, it goes back to the entire, the whole composition sort of thing. So I could actually select all of them like that. Whereas when I double click on one object, it selects just that object so that I can then edit only the vector outline of that object. It's super specific and like it's so precise and lovely.
Well, sometimes you just have to have that level of precision if you're wanting something like
Yeah,
that's very defined. You have something in mind that you just it's gotta follow that.
right. Yeah, especially when it comes to these curved lines. It's like if you make a curve and then try to recreate it in Photoshop, you're almost never going to get it right. And there's going to be pixels that look different and everything else. So with vector art, you're working with the geometry, and then if you scale it up or down, it stays the same shape. It doesn't alter. So that's the other thing, is that it's scalable. You can, no matter what size you make it, it's going to keep that shape.
For a person like me who's not really really that artistic to kind of like mimic the same curve, something like that is very necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. What? So yes, I'm just like you. I'm killing time, waiting for the most exciting thing of the day, which should be pretty darn exciting because I only know a couple of things, and there's all sorts of things that they're gonna say.
Right.
But I do know a couple things, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'm in dark, so this is gonna be an experience for me. I'm looking forward to it.
So I know for sure they've already announced that they have two new studios.
Yes.
Yeah, they got one new studio here in this area, and then the one down in LA that they just decided to open up. You know what? There's an easier way to do this. So we at least know that much.
Right. Just, I can only imagine though with new studios, it opens up a lot of new space for more projects.
Right. Yeah, I hope that there's not many things that get cut back. I really hope that it's all expansion. That's how they've described it. So
They're calling it expansion pack, so.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm taking that the one on the left is a top-down view map, and I'm just taking the shapes from that and creating a side view for that same thing. So that way I have a reference image to use when I start rendering it in 3D. It's just way easier when you have an image that you can place and then work on top of it to model stuff.
Yeah.
So
this is like the basic level design. Let's say like gaming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it all started off with people asking me, how do you make a square grid and set it up for your map? And I'm like, well, you get graph paper and you make your map like normal, and then you scan it in, and then you lay the grid on top of it, and that just that part alone blows some people's minds because they've never done that. They don't use Illustrator or whatever. There's a free version. I think it's called Inkscape. It's an open source version of a vector graphics software. I don't use it because I'm really not that impressed with the open source versions when I have the full versions. um, but yeah, I mean, after I did that and had so many people ask me the same questions, I'm like, well, shit. That was one of the reasons I wanted to start live streaming was after that happened because I'm like, man, these are like simple fixes. They take 10 seconds to show people, but then you have to do that over and over and over because they're all asking you the same questions. So yeah, so
I mean,
go ahead.
well, I guess that helps with what I was gonna say. That helps with like projects you make. Like you just the way you teach people is you frequently start new projects. So if they follow you long enough, they'll see like from the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And my videos, once they're completed, they aren't archived on Twitch. They only stick around for like 2 weeks. But
Right.
that's why I put all of them on YouTube so that until I get big enough for that point, that they are archived somewhere. So that's the deal. That's the plan. Stupid plans. Bastards.
Who wants to make plans?
Nobody. I always make plans and then they fall apart miserably.
Yeah, no, a lot of people can relate with that.
Yay. You and your silly mortal plans. Those don't matter.
Us mortals, we are very silly beings. We make no sense all of the time.
So let's see, what else do I want to get out of that?
I was just kind of quick slide and say, are you gaming tomorrow?
Probably. I assume yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be there. Well, that is if Justin offers to come get me again, which I assume he
Oh,
will.
I'm sure he's. Yeah, he's pretty good for that.
So
He's a good guy.
yeah.
Just always. He's a good angry guy. Is how I can put it.
Yeah,
He's
yes.
always angry.
Yes, you're right. The good angry guy. We're not talking about you behind your back, Justin. Just online. And for the record, for anyone who really doesn't think I'm joking, Justin is probably one of the coolest people in the world. Also, Justin P. Sluter, Black Fang, he's pretty fucking awesome. So, then they'll go, Googling his name, and then they'll find products, and then they will feel educated. So, ha ha ha.
Hopefully we can get a sale.
Yeah,
Because of that, we can get a sale.
I'm down with that.
Advertising more.
That's the beauty of the live stream. It's free advertising. Nobody has to pay. They just and it's also sponsored by Mountain Dew. Just kidding. Not sponsored by Mountain Dew. Unless
You though totally would love a sponsorship from Mountain.
I don't know. There's some things that we don't need to pander for. That's the other beauty of doing your own live stream is that you don't necessarily have to please anyone except for yourself and your fans.
Exactly. And Mountain Dew.
So ha, Mountain Dew, I don't have to do what you say. So yeah, at this point I'm just keeping the busy. I really want to talk about the things that I can't talk about yet, but hopefully soon I'll be able to talk about them.
Yeah, well, coming up on 12, well, we are 12 right now.
And I was also I feel pretty lucky that I found some music playlists that I can have going on in the background without getting screwed on the. Because what will happen is if you play copyrighted stuff, they'll just mute your video through that
That's
portion.
horrible.
Yeah.
No idea that's how it works.
Yeah. The live video will be normal, but when it's I mean, it's basically they run it through on both Twitch and YouTube. They run it through like a you know, a search comparison against all the other songs and videos and stuff that is out there. And then yeah, if they find a match, it gets muted. I'm pretty sure on both Twitch and YouTube. I know for sure on
I know
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. YouTube's very, they have some very strict thoughts on YouTube, let's put it that way.
Right. So yeah. So you didn't get to see the first ones when I first started. So hang on. We'll open the other ones. They're right here. So we have our ephemeral mindscape, which will. This is the one that I prepped for 3D like from the get-go, from when I was thinking about it and considering, you know, what would I do with this when I make it? Like how far do I want to take this? And I decided from the very get-go I'm going to conceptually build this for 3D so that the details that don't have to go in at the start, they don't go in. And then when I get it all together and throw it into Blender and have it set up for 3D, that's when the stuff gets added.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. After watching... Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, props to the artist who did the images, like, that, I can see the mix of those images being the outcome of what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't find the exact image that I looked for the first time around when I was looking for reference photos, but, you know, this kind of color and the mist and the atmospherics and all that, that's really what I'm going for.
Yeah, I love the color of those two top images, the skies, the purples and blues.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the purple will be more like what I'm going to do outside of the Mindscape egg-shaped thing. And then inside of it, I'll go with more like blues and greens. The water itself is going to be luminescent. So the water is going to emit light from below.
Okay.
And then all around the outside, I'm going to focus a lot on darks and lights and trying to make high contrast as much as possible. Focusing on...
Yeah, because you're definitely gonna be your main business is gonna be light color.
Mm-hmm.
Light color.
Yeah.
But,
And then, yeah, what I was going to do is make like a path of stones that goes from that bottom corner. So when I was thinking about it from like a camera angle. So basically the camera would be over here in the bottom left corner looking into that. And then you're going to walk along a path of stones that are standing out above the water. And then the water is going to be that blue shape all the way around. And then it'll be like an island on the green spot. So that's the concept. Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. And of course, like I was telling the guys at Hyper before, I really want to do a show that's all about Blender and making stuff for Blender and isn't like, this is how you do it the right way. I want it to be, this is how you fuck up. This is how you totally fuck things up over and over and over and then learn how to fix them and then do it right. And then, hey, look what we failed at in order to make. And it's totally easy because 3D the Blender software is so complicated. It's so easy to mess things up. I wanted to call it Blender Fail or Break Blender or something like that. Just something that really market capitalizes on the idea of you're gonna fuck it up first. You're gonna mess up at least a couple of times, and then hopefully we'll make something really cool. Hopefully.
I'm pretty inspired, actually. I'll be honest with you about the ethereal type world and those colors. So I told you, like, where? What do you remember me telling you about the other dimension, the like realm of corruption?
Oh yeah, we didn't really talk about that too much.
Alright, so like, there is another, like, so like, there's realm of corruption underneath, and then there's the normal plane of existence, and then there's like the spirit realm. Well, that ethereal, like, those images kind of like, I'm almost wanting that to be the top layer. That's where, like, in dreams and good things come from. Is that layer?
Oh, okay. Okay. That would be cool.
I don't know. That looks interesting. Looks neat. This definitely gives me some creative juice, which thank you, by the way. That's
Yay! Yay! We have succeeded! We get victory points! One of these days I want to set up something where I give out victory points and brownie points and experience points and all sorts of fun points. One of these days.
That would be awesome. That would be really awesome.
I really want to hand out brownie points because for me, when I think of brownies, I think of brownies. Like the Fae. And slightly mad. just slightly mad. From Mindscape, which one haven't I opened it? Yeah. Maybe I opened all of them. Alien Planet, Theater Hall. Oh, and then and then the one I was working on. So these are the other ones that I haven't opened up aside from the Vampire Theater Hall, which loosely inspired by the interview with the vampire when they go to the theater in the movie. It's not gonna look like that set, but that's kind of where I'm drawing my inspiration for that dark gothic kind of feel,
Right.
with a little bit of, I mean, because they start that movie off in the I don't know, the 1700s, 1800s, something like that, and so kind of having that older feel to it. I won't have as many candles on my stage, but then again, when I build this, I'll set it up so that when I place like a candelabra like that, it'll actually be an object that I can make separately so that you can place it down and move it around rather than have it stuck on the map and not able to move.
Which would be nice, like, let's say if there needs to be manipulation of that object, like something or someone picks it up and throws it.
Right.
That'd be cool.
So, in fact, for the tavern map that I did, I made a hanging chandelier with candles on it. So I'll probably use that graphic to start with and place down, and then make like something more, a little more candles on it, a little more elaborate, like these ones. In any case, like I said, those objects that I make will be kind of separate from the map itself, and be more like elements that you can place down individually. And a lot of times it's because I think about setting things up on the online tabletops, so that it's like, well, yeah, you want that maximum customability.
Right, like you're basically making objects to use later for other things.
Right.
So if it's an image that you like a lot, you don't want it to be part of whatever you make. You really would want it as a separate thing. So in case you just need to reuse it or design it a little different for something else, you have it like as a separate model or a separate image.
Yeah. Exactly. An art asset is what I call it, because you're constantly using that asset, almost like paint. It's like you take a little of this color and a little of that color, and you throw them all together, and oh, look, that's pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the Vampire Theater Hall. That one's another one that I think of kind of 3D-ish, but mostly because when I think of a theater hall for vampires, I think of something that's a little taller than just a single-story building. So at least like 2 or 3 floors, which is easily 20 to 30 feet. So it's kind of almost just by concept, it's very easy to think of this one as 3D. But I when I thought about it, like when I conceptualized it the first time around, I definitely wasn't setting it up for 3D. It's just that the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, well, this would have a really good feel to it if it felt really tall. It's hard to do that with a top-down map, though. Kind of
Yeah.
tough. But yeah, so I'll set all of these up so that they're prepared for 3D, if nothing else. But what I'll probably do with all of these as a baseline is develop them in vector artwork here, and then export them for Photoshop, which is where I'll paint all the little nice fine detail textures. And then anything that I do want to use as a 3D setup, I'll take it and I'll bring it over into Blender, which is what I use for 3D, and use it as a background reference image. And then just build on top of it. The alien planet. So I was watching a bunch of people play No Man's Sky, and was just like, the colors. I mean, the colors in and of itself inspired me.
Right.
And then along with that, just seeing all these different types of weird plants and growths and steam vents and all sorts of cool things. I was like, well, you know, they're all pretty, but you know that it could be horrible at some point. You know that some of those aliens are very dangerous. So that's horror enough for me. Plus with this one too, it's hard to describe without going into actually building one, but I will work with gradient mesh. It's hard to describe what that actually is without going into it, but it's a really simple way of creating a gradient of colors. Actually, here, I'll just show you. I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to make a rectangle down. We'll do, oh, here, we'll do it on the actual stuff. Okay. So let's make one just like this. And move this up into the center. And then I'm going to use the mesh tool to turn this into a gradient mesh. And as soon as I click on it, it is now officially a gradient mesh. And then if I click to add some more vector lines, it gives me more vector points to work with. If I select these vector points off to this side and change the color of them to, let's say, a more pink color, and then let's select these two and turn it to a more orangey kind of color. And we'll turn this one over here into a slightly more purplish. And then if I take these ones over here, let's take this one and just make it really bluish green-ish. Actually, let's do this. We'll make both of them bluish greenish. And we'll make it really blue-green. And then so once you've got this gradient mesh created, you have a perfect gradient between each of these colors. And then by messing with these vector points, you can change how the color gradient shifts around. This is really good for when you want to create things that are very, how do I say this? This is really hard to describe. So abstract. Well, I guess I'll hover over this shape and show you that like you were asking me before, what does the red lines mean? In this, these curved red lines are the vectors that when you select that vector point and then say, I want this point to be that color, for example, let's take this one. We're going to make it as bright orange as possible, and then I'll use an actual swatch. Oh yeah, see, there we go. that's exactly as terrible as I wanted. We'll go a little lighter. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now just that one vector point is a really bright orange, and that color is then on a gradient changing to all the other colors out there on the other points. And so this is called a gradient mesh. You've changed the shape into a mesh object, and this gets really not complicated, but you can make lots of details in these gradient meshes by adding more lines to the mesh. And so this is really useful for creating color textures that like really line up well when you place it onto a mesh for like a 3D object, which everything 3D is a mesh that's created on a grid, a 3D grid. And so after you create those objects and want to texturize them, and you've laid them out on a grid, this gradient mesh tool becomes really, really, really effective at laying down colors on very specific points. And then you have like a lot of editability for these curves, which alter the shape of the color significantly. It's really hard to describe all of that because it's a complex process and you get a complex outcome, but it's very, very, very precise. yeah, it's really hard to describe what it is that just occurred there. But in any case, that's one of the things I'll focus on when I work on this map and make all its very special details. Is I'll create that bottom floor as a gradient mesh of colors, and then work from that.
Yeah, that's not simple. Let's put it that way.
It's an incredibly abstract topic.
Yeah.
It creates some cool. So the reason that I even know about that, here, let's see. Oh, you know what? I don't have things set up to show you. Look up gradient mesh. Oh, you know what? Look up ultra realistic vector art. That's what it is. Ultra realistic vector art. And they use gradient meshes in order to create the very complex change of colors that happens like on the face. It's really helpful when you're creating somebody who has makeup on and it's like you need that color right there on their cheek but not anywhere else, but it needs to be nice and blended, and it can be tough to do sometimes. This is one of those tools that makes it really, really easy to get that very crisp effect in a very specific place. A very specific curve. Yeah, abstract.
I feel this is why people go to college.
Yeah, and that's what it is. That's what I studied in college, and when we were looking at vector graphics, that was how we got introduced to the gradient mesh, was figure out what vector art is. You have to see it taken to its very, very, very furthest point, and that ultra realistic vector art it's crazy, and it's cool, and it's very crisp.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love it. I'm like fine as well. This is, I never really know like the smallest steps in these types of things.
Right. Right. That's the beauty of my stream. We learn something every day.
Yeah, I'm not going to hate on that. I love learning.
So that's that. That was the. I probably won't do a lot of gradient mesh on there, but like for like the very ground floor for the actual ground, I'm gonna do something like that where it's just colors, because I like those crazy colors. I like crazy. Crazy's fun. And then for this nighttime cemetery, despite being incredibly dark over here on the actual map, is basically going to be... I kind of was inspired by a cemetery from where I grew up in Michigan. Just like dirt paths and like a circular, almost like a road trail-ish kind of thing. And then a whole bunch of graves and a memorial tomb kind of thing with a statue outside. And I totally forgot to put the cover from Horror Adventures here as one of my references, because that was the idea that was inspiring me, was the cover of Horror Adventures. So let me grab that. Oh, well. Yeah. Here we go. Copy this. Put it over here. See how big it is. It's probably... Oh. Well, we don't technically want to do that. Technically. There we go. Yeah! Woo! That's a nice reference photo. He's big. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that a lot of times when people are coming up with really cool ideas, it's like they have this huge idea. They have a it's like a book full of ideas, and they just want to do the one thing, and it's like they don't really know what to do to get them to that point. I've done so many projects top to bottom that I'm like, you know what? This is how you do it. You start with something, you figure out what you want it to look like, what you're actually going for, you know, who are you catering this to? How can you make them happy? How can you make yourself happy? And figure out all those things, and then build it. Start, you know, figure out what's step one, what's step two.
And that's me 102% of the time. With most things I do, I'm always very, I wouldn't say overwhelmed, because I like what I do. I think overwhelmed is kind of like makes that not seem that good.
Sure.
But there's a lot, like with this project right now. This is a big project. I want this to be big. I want my world building to be massive. Like in my head, I got an idea of how big I want the nations to be and stuff like that. But I'm thinking to myself, I want it to be bigger. You know what I mean? So it's like I just spend my days basically brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
What place would this be? What would it have? And you know, I work from the outside sometimes, and I work from the very inside, and I work from the outside.
So I have found that the top-down method takes forever. I mean, it literally, you literally, because you're like, you have so many ideas, you don't know which one to place down first, and then, or you start with a couple, get halfway through, and then you're like, oh man, now how do I polish this up? Because you've got so many things that you want to put into it. And I think that's why, like with Paizo, I think that's why they've adopted the method that they do, which is you start with one piece, make one puzzle piece look really amazing, and then jump into the second puzzle piece, and then jump to the third. And so
Absolutely.
I think especially when it comes to world building, it's like the top-down method works only far enough for you to make an outline, right? These are all the different things I want to put together, or a brainstorming list. And I have folders full of pages of just thoughts, like the lotus blossom of the 10 masked things or whatever, and then the epiphany of Montbaral, and just lists of ideas that came to me that were like, this would be really cool. I don't know how I want to use this, but it sounds really neat. And so you just throw all of those down, and then it's like I always would just come back to those lists of ideas, because then, even though they'd be years old after a while, you still have those. They give you a feeling that you can then bring back. So a lot of times I'll just make brainstorming lists of stuff that I would throw in, and then you can choose from that list, like what's so important for what I'm doing right here, like with this adventure or with this story, and then how will it lead into the rest of those things. So I mean, having written adventure content, I can tell you for sure that's the thing that's going to make the most difference, is figuring out what's the most important part to include right here, so that I get people interested, and then they lead into whatever else it is that you want to throw in there.
Yeah, that's a weakness I have, that I feel to admit that like sometimes my webbing isn't as strong, my hooks aren't as strong, which is fine. I I constantly like work on that part a lot. So
Do you have a map working yet?
a map,
Mm-hmm.
not really, not really. I have an idea of a concept I want. Honestly, just sort of drawing like a few circles. It's like that's a continent.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, whatever it takes. So
Yeah.
I personally, if I don't have a map in front of me, I feel like I don't know the whole story, because I want to see where it happened. I want to see where things happened at different times and how far away from one another they were. So it's like my buddy Matt. He would just sit around just making maps, fill a page up with stuff, and then go to the next one, and then fill that page up with a map of stuff, and then go to the next one. And when then we'd have a ton of maps that we would just go back to and use, and be like, oh well, I'll turn this into that, and we'll make that.
And you see, I'm probably gonna have to do that, because the problem with just making a map is that it will go through so many changes if I make a map. Because as I write things down, as I brainstorm, and I'm like, okay, so there's this great war here. So what is the like? And I start thinking, this world looks different than here. Like forests, like have been demolished. Like hills have been ran over. Like, so what does this look like on a map? What would this look like if I looked at it like I was standing on the moon looking at Earth? And I started thinking of like, okay, maybe there's like a crater or something, there, a big crater from a giant explosion. And I start like building like in my mind, what I write down. I start building the map that way. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
what about like land that kind of sinks into the ground? What does that make? There's a city that kind of did that in the world, and just a bunch of that stuff. There's also a land like the part of the continent that's full of undead, full of like that type of energy, just that like death energy. So the land looks like that. So how's the map affected like that? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that's kind of like, as I write, the map changes. So for me, like you said, I should probably get into the habit of making multiple maps and act like have them like pink cards, you know, those pink chip cards where you're like this one looks good, this you know, just kind of like
Oh yeah,
play it
yeah.
side by side, yeah, and do it that way. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I find that a map is almost integral to any really good creative idea.
Uh, Short of honestly, the short of using paint, that's all I really got to put a map on my computer.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, I'm using,
Yeah.
I make some really cool advanced stuff because that's just what I do. But, it doesn't have to be terribly fancy in order to do the job of telling you where stuff is. Just because mine look professional doesn't mean that that's what's required.
Yeah, being professionalism. That's like my Albus Stevens twin brother.
I'm so glad I found these music playlists that I can play on my stream without getting into trouble.
Oh yes. I feel like music for live streams it's integral. It like when you're not talking, when it's just everything's kind of like chill and relax, good music, good background. It's necessary.
Right. So this is Fixed. They're a label. The main artist that I know of that's on there is Cell Dweller. And that's actually, they're based out of Michigan. So I've met him, actually. I'm
very familiar with Cell Dweller. It's
Oh,
one of my musics of choice when I listen to my Pandora.
Sweet. Yeah, I love him. Like, in a platonic way. Mostly platonic way, I think. And yeah. Awesome musician. Yeah, and actually that was another thing that really inspired me was watching him do streaming things that he's teaching people on his stream technical things about creating music with electronic devices. It's like it's really, I love streaming. I love what this is making. We are the future.
Well, yeah, it's like if you have an idea, you stream it and you teach people. You're basically you're a teacher role.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's big, and I think it's necessary. You know, it's going to kind of bring people out of their shells, if you will.
Yeah.
And make us more comfortable with each other.
Well, so we hope.
You're gonna be used. Yeah. So I wish. I know. I got big hopes.
It's all right. I'm on the utopian bandwagon too, so it's cool.
Yeah, I think there's too many people who like to say or see the world as something more negative. I want to see it as something more positive. I would like. There's already enough. Like I don't want to use this word because it's so used so strong. But hate. There's enough people on that hate bandwagon.
Yeah.
I want to be on the opposite side.
Yeah.
I want to be where like it's going to be a great team.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. We are the future! So, it is 12:40 right now, and I see an announcement on the HyperRPG Discord, which I'm going to invite you over to. I'm going to invite you to both that one and, oh, I guess I can invite you to that one. That's evil.
Are you sure? Like, I mean, I'm not a subscriber.
Well, and it doesn't matter because there are they have subscriber and non-subscriber channels now on it.
Okay, awesome.
So let me notification settings. I am not sure how to get the link for this for you. What if I do General Jackpoint? Okay. What if I... Wow, I really don't know how to do this. That's very bizarre.
would say if you click on the channel icon or even the room icon, you should be able to.
I have mark as read, server mute, notification settings, privacy settings, change nickname, and leave server. So let's do notification settings. No, definitely not. Okay. And let's do privacy settings. Okay, no. Let's see. I can't create instant invites to those. What about welcome? Let's just Okay. I'm really not entirely sure how I'm supposed to do this, and I definitely can't create an instant invite.
Oh, there's an arrow at the top of the channel, and if you click it, there's that invite people.
Actually, yeah, so it is that way on mine, but it's not that way on theirs.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like everybody's channel.
Yeah. Privacy settings, change nickname, leave server, and notification. So, all right, I will figure out what one needs to do to get the link for this. It's somewhere. You know what? It's if you go to twitch.tv/hyperrpg/chat, and if you do that exclamation point Discord, it should give you the link for the Discord. I think. I hope. Do you see how quickly my ideas of how things work can change? I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I think. I hope. You know what? Nothing is predictable. Everything goes out the window. Let's all be birds. I didn't do my Saturday. No, it didn't. It didn't work for you?
I know it did.
Okay.
Let's look at that. Discord.
I'm really surprised there's not a quick, easy way to just move,
Okay, I have their channel. If there's any place I can sit here though.
There should be a couple of text and voice channels that non-subscribers are able to log into. It's really sad that I can't just invite you like normal. Oh well, whatever.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. I have, okay, so I see like all their channels, their voice channels. Mushroom Game General, Analog Game Online, Art. Paragon, yeah, none of those I can get into.
Okay, on the text channels, the Metroplex. I think the Metroplex and Corporate Court should both be open to you, and the Sinless.
I don't see those. I don't see those text channels. All I see is Welcome Daily News Hugs, RP, Mobile Data, and Quality of Cult.
Really? You see Welcome, Important News, Hugs, General Jackpoint?
No, I don't see that.
Wow.
Those are probably channels that are on sub only.
Yeah, it's just weird because the Sinless and the Metroplex you should be able to get in those. How very bizarre. I don't know. We'll troubleshoot this another time.
Yeah.
We will figure this out one way or another. But not right now. So it's quarter till. I'm gonna stop my stream for now.
Yeah, I've already moved over to Hyper, so
Cool.
they're, yeah, they can start. Or they said they have a countdown for 14, so.
Sweet. Yeah, so for anybody who is out there watching now or in the future, which we are already the future if you were listening to that discussion, we are going to be watching Hyper RPG because at 1 o'clock they're going to do some amazing announcements. I know I'm really looking forward to it. I'm pretty sure we're all really looking forward to it. And thank you so much for Zombie Nate for joining me on Discord. And Nate is building a role-playing game content world for himself based on the idea of the good and the light, and there's a plane of corruption and lots of cool ideas that he's coming up with. And yeah, this is the place for that, because we're just gonna make shit. I mean, that's the whole fucking point of my channel, is we bring people and we make shit, and maybe we'll make some friends.
Absolutely.
Sweet. So I'm going to stop it there, and I will catch you all later. Thank you for joining us. Go watch Hyper RPG. Enjoy life, and I hope everyone has a wonderful week.